Hey everybody, this is your friendly neighborhood therapist, Alfonso. Hope y'all are already having an amazing day on purpose. I was having a conversation yesterday with a young lady in the praise team before service yesterday, and somehow, some way, she and I, my wife, and her grandma started talking about swimming, and some of the young ladies mentioned how they were afraid of swimming, and the young lady was just so engaging. And I said, "Hey, can I teach you a word?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Thalassophobia." And she said, "Thalassophobia?" And I said, "Yeah, thalassophobia is a fear of the water, fear of deep water. You guys may have heard of agoraphobia, which is fear basically of water." And she just looked at me kind of perplexed. And we just had a wonderful time waiting for the word to come. And it made me think about how many of us actually have fears or phobias about different things, whether it's arachnophobia with spiders or mysophobia with germs, thalassophobia with water. Fear is something that is an instinct the body has that alerts us when there's danger. Unfortunately, some people have the kind of fear that's more rooted in an anxiety. Anxiety is one of those mental health disorders that causes us to have an exaggerated emotional response to an activating event. Not everybody who has an anxious moment actually suffers from anxiety, but many people do actually suffer from a form of anxiety. The most common form of anxiety is what we call a generalized anxiety disorder. Now, I want to explain something to you scientifically. Individuals who are prone to having anxiety tend to have an initial response rooted in fear or an emotional response to something that seems like it may just have this terrible ending. It doesn't matter whether you have faith or not. An individual who suffers from anxiety, their initial response to something that looks threatening is typically one of fear. You guys may have been there where you had a bill that was due that you didn't know how you want to get it paid. It was an unexpected bill, and you start thinking about, oh, well, maybe I need to sell this. I may have to go get a part-time job. I may have to get rid of this. That initial response is one to try to avert or avoid what we call a fatalistic outcome. Whether you have faith or not, as I said before, when you deal with anxiety, it is going to cause you to have that initial response that is emotional. Then the rational or the cognitive will come in, and then the spiritual. Doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that. It means that when you have anxiety, you can't help but to be afraid. There are things that are going to cause us to have that response that makes it look like, oh my God, the worst thing is going to happen. Eventually, when you allow yourself to what I call STAR, S-T-A-R, that stop, think, and then respond. Now, that doesn't change the fact that your initial response may be one of fear, but after you just feel like, oh my God, what am I going to do? You have to remember, let me just slow down and remind myself that I'm a star. I'm going to stop, I'm going to think, and I'm going to respond. Don't you ever let somebody tell you that there's something wrong with your faith or anything else because your initial response is one of fear. It's just your fight, flight, or freeze being stimulated in a way that you can't stop yourself from initially running. But as I said before, this is something that most of us deal with. It doesn't have to be thalassophobia, mysophobia, coulrophobia. It could be anything. Coulrophobia is the fear of clowns. It could be anything. Having a generalized anxiety disorder or traits of it is the most common of all mental health disorders, second, right in front of depression. So when you're an individual who may be prone to worrying a little bit too much, don't let somebody tell you that there's something so wrong with you that you must not believe in anything else. When you are stimulated in a way that something happens that's beyond your control, having that initial response where you may want to run or think that the worst is going to happen is normal. You guys know what I love to tell you. Not only are you a star, not only are you going to stop, think, and respond. You remember that there's this guy, I don't know who he is or why, but he just loves me. Yeah, I do love you. And as George Wallace say, it ain't a thing you can do about it. Y'all have a blessed one. Love you.